If you want to be the best DPS in Mirandus, then this video is for you because in this video we're covering the elves. Elves are the exemplar in Mirandus that are going to make the best DPS in the game and make the best healers. And we're going to cover the 5 different types of elves in this video, talk about their bonuses, which elf does what. So if you've missed some of the previous videos I've been making, I've been covering every single exemplar. The videos are based off of the race. We covered the humans, the orcs, the dwarves, the halflings, and now we're going to finish up with the elves. So those are the 5 different races in Mirandus. Elves are the most rare. There's only going to be 1,000 total elves out of all of the exemplars. That is only 2% of all exemplars are elves. And just to put things in perspective, 50% are going to be humans and only 2% are going to be elves. So you are not going to see that many elves running around. And when you do see one, it's going to be that much cooler because of how rare they are. But where would you see them? You'll see them in the boss raids because they do make up the best DPS in the game, which we're going to get into. But first, my name is Duyo, and if you like Mirandus, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel because that's all we talk about here. And if you want to join a Discord community where you talk a little bit more about Mirandus and have friends to meet up and play with and chat with in this upcoming playtest, then go ahead and join the Discord channel that's in the description below because you'll be able to join chat channels. And if you don't really have a place to go, or if you just want more places to talk about Mirandus because in a lot of the other Discords is fairly dead, then join this one. Um, I'd love to have you there. But let's dive on into the video. So let's talk about elves. Okay, so we're going to start off the elves with the all site. And again, I'm on Mirandus Hub. So if you want to check out the different buildings, these exemplars, the different type of monsters, yeah, it's on mirandushub.com. But here we are on the all sides, and these guys get a bonus to ranged weapons. And this is pretty cool because on all of the exemplars of all the races that I've covered so far, a couple of them have had defensive bonuses, but not a single one has had any offensive bonuses. Nothing for damage or DPS. And these guys are the first one that I'm covering with a type of damage output as a bonus. So these guys get bonus to range weapons. They are going to make the best archers in the game. So if you like the archer play style, the all side is the ultimate exemplar for you because these guys will be the very best archers in the game and definitely one of the top DPS in the entire game. Personally, I would love to have an all side. These guys are really cool. There's not too much more to say other than they are literally one of the best exemplars in the entire game. But let's move on to the bright sun. So these guys get an ability that in daylight you can convert energy to health. Now, it doesn't specify here, and we don't know in game yet, so a lot of this stuff we'll have to test out and see how it actually works. It doesn't specify if that is converting your energy to your health or to be able to heal others as well. In the case that it can convert your energy to your health, that would be like a self-healing buff, which would make these guys a pretty good tank because they can be healing themselves as they're getting damaged. You would have like a team that would be doing the DPS and killing the monsters, and you would just be there taking all the damage and self-healing. Self-healing can be very, very useful. In games like Elder Scrolls Online, I know I was a tank and I could take the damage, and I had enough self heals that my brother, who was a priest, a healing class, he pretty much just switched over to a DPS priest because I could heal myself. So self heals are very, very nice in games. Now, in the situation where you can convert your energy to heal somebody else, that's a whole different ball game because now you are one of the best healers in the game. Because there's this and there's one other exemplar that would get a good healing buff. And if you can heal others, that's huge. You know, all of the best raid parties. So yeah, a ton are gonna need a healer. And if you're one of the best healers, you're going to be a very sought after person to have in all of the biggest, baddest raid parties going after the bosses for the big Materium or unique item drops, right? So these guys could be really cool. Either way, it works. If it's a self heal, these guys are an amazing tank. And if you can convert this energy to heal others, you'd be an amazing healer. Either way, these guys are awesome. Moving on to the Dark Suns here. You see well at night as long as you are outside. Now, I do have to say, out of the elves, these are my least favorite because I believe the other elves just have so much more utility when it comes to combat, either combat or healing, than these guys. The other elves, all four of the other elves, are literally the top DPS or the top healers, and in the case of the last one, even one of the top tanks. These guys are the only elf that don't get like a direct combat advantage. However, they kind of do because we know monsters are going to be tougher at night than they are during the daytime. And at night, it is dark, dark. Like you literally can't see at all. So you would be required to wear a torch. And if you have a torch in one hand, that might mean that you can't wear a two-handed weapon, or you might not be able to use a bow and arrow because you have to carry a torch. Like it could limit you because you would have to have a torch in one hand, right? And if you don't need that, then that could help you in combat. And it would be a little cheaper, right? Because you wouldn't have to buy the torches. You wouldn't have to constantly use the torch every single night. Now, if you are in a party, chances are somebody in that party is going to have a torch because the whole party needs to see at night, right? Not just you. Like, as cool as that would be, you can't just be out there with the party and you're literally the only one who can see, and the other people in your group are all blind. So there would have to be torches involved, and if that's the case, then your ability is kind of diminished there. You would be able to see anyway, through the use of a torch. Now, you could probably see better than what a torch. You can see farther, you can see clearer, stuff like that, sure. But like, you'll still have a torch bearer there. So, but if you were solo, we know monsters are going to be tougher at night, so you might not want to solo. But then again, you do have an elf that's one of the most expensive exemplars in the game. So let's just assume that you have the gear that you can solo fairly well at night, at least. This could be a pretty big advantage because you're killing some of the toughest monsters in the game by yourself. You don't have to share the drops from them, stuff like that. So if you could solo the toughest monsters, not maybe the toughest monsters, but tougher than the average monster by yourself, then you're getting more than the average drops by yourself. It could be a very good solo farmer at night. And if night is 50% of the time, that means that you're in your zone 50% of the time. And if they reduce nighttime to only like 30% of the time and daytime 70%, something like that, they might tweak it a little bit, because players do like to see and daytime, and they have all this beautiful scenery. They want to show it off. So if days are longer than the nights, then over half of the time your buff don't even help you anyways. Do keep that in mind. Still could be a very powerful buff if you're soloing harder monsters at night and keeping all those drops to yourself. Outside of that, one of the least useful buffs as far as exemplars and especially as far as elves go. But moving on to the Earthlight, these guys, all spells come naturally, costing less energy to cast. And these guys are going to be amazing DPS and maybe even just as important, amazing healers. So the other guys, we're not sure if they can heal others or not. These guys definitely would be able to heal others because it says all spells. That would include healing spells. And they come at a reduced energy cost, which means you can heal longer and you have to use less energy potions, less food to keep your energy up, or just spend more energy running than you would be able to if you didn't have that buff, right? So these guys are going to be good sustained DPS because they can use magic longer without having to use potions or just run out of energy. In a lot of cases, a lot of people just be running out of energy. These guys won't run out as much, which means they can be attacking longer, which is great for sustained DPS. These bosses that are going to take forever to kill, these guys are really going to shine here. The Earthlight Elves are going to shine in some of the longer battles, and then they're just cost efficient because, like I said, you're using less consumables, less potions, less food, less things that other classes would be, or other exemplars would be required to keep their energy up. And speaking about being required to keep your energy up, that leads us on to the Everflow. And the reason why I say that is because these guys get a bonus to casting speed, so they will be casting spells faster than any other exemplar. And that also means they will be burning energy faster than any other exemplar. And they will be more required to use more potions, more food like that. But get this, they would literally be the highest DPS in the game. Assuming that magic can out DPS a bow and arrow, because anybody can use a bow and arrow, but it costs Materium to cast spells, and elves are so rare, we're let's just go ahead and assume that magic can out DPS a bow and arrow. That would make these guys the very best because they can cast magic DPS spells the fastest. They could also cast healing spells the fastest. So while these guys are sustained damage, these guys are burst damage, and they would be the very best healers and the very best DPS in the game. But that would come at more Materium that you have to use for the spells, more potions you got to use to keep your energy up, more food you got to use to keep your energy up. These guys are going to be very costly, where these guys are the Earthlight are cost efficient with less costing less energy to cast spells. These guys would be the complete opposite. They would be the least cost efficient exemplar in the game, but get the perk of being the very best DPS and healers most likely. So yeah, these guys will be very sought after in the boss raids, and in a lot of like leveling or grinding parties, just because of their fast casting speed, their fast DPS, they'll be able to kill like crazy, right? These guys are really cool, but yeah, if you're looking to make as much money in the game, I don't know if I would go with the Everflow. Just true, you could kill some of the bosses, but you could kill some of the bosses with other elves that don't cost as much as far as potions or food or materium costs for magic, you know. So I do really like these. And if you want to be the very top player in the game, go ahead and get one. Me personally, I would trade the very best DPS for like a second or third DPS if that meant that I could save a lot of in-game money or earn more money because it is a play to earn game, right? That's just my opinion. I'm not saying they're bad at all. In fact, I'm saying they're very great. Not even good, great, like one of the very best. I'm just saying I personally would opt in for a more cost efficient exemplar. But I know a lot of people want to be the very best elf or the very best DPS, and that's where you would find these guys. Just to recap a couple of these, Everflow, highest magic DPS in the game. The Earthlight, most sustainable magic DPS in the game. And then the All-Sight, highest bow and arrow DPS in the game, highest range weapons. So there's some really cool elves there, and if you want to be a good DPS, you'll want to go with elf. None of the other classes here, none of not classes, none of the other races here, none of the other exemplars get a DPS bonus. There's two orcs that get a little bit of a defensive bonus, but there's nothing like the elves. So if you do, but the elves are going to be the most rare. They are going to be the most expensive. And there's a good reason for that, you know, it's because they are some of the best, not some of, they are the best race in the game, especially with healing, DPS, and even potentially tanking. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the elves then. All right, so that's it for the elves. And out of all the elves, which one was your favorite? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And that actually finishes up all 30 different types of exemplars. So which exemplar out of all of them was your favorite? I'd love to hear that as well. And if you did miss out on some of them, then check out this playlist where I have the list of all of the different exemplars. And that way you will be up to speed on what you want to do in game in this upcoming playtest that's going to be at the end of quarter 1 of this year, so 2 months or less at the time of this video. All right, that's it for today, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.